Yeah, so my name is Chai-Yoel Corn, and I run cycorntherapy.com. And my gender pronouns are they, them. And today I call myself a body and trauma relational therapist. It doesn't mean that you need to come with any of the above to see me in at all as a therapist. It just means that I'm trauma and body informed as a therapist. Um, a lot, so my specialities are working with the body, working with trauma, and I've worked in the gender, sexuality, and relationship diverse community now for 26 years in different with different hats. So initially as a youth worker, then I worked in sexual health, and then I retrained as a therapist. So I've kind of had different hats along the way, and because I started from a very youth orientated space, I like to use a lot of creativity in my work, and particularly when we're working with the body and thinking about trauma. I think some words often get in the way of feelings and emotions, and sometimes if we can use creative tools, we can express those needs and cares much easier than the actual feeling or the real story. So yeah, that's what I do.
Amazing. So you've just answered the question I was going to ask next. So you've had over your process of therapy, you've come to use a more embodied approach, I guess, then, and a more creative approach. Um, and so what are some of the issues more broadly that you'd find you're coming up against with your queer or gender non-conforming clients in terms of maybe somatics or relation to their emotions?
So I guess we're moving through a different period of time
Mm.
that none of us expected to move into. Like it feels a bit like we've gone 30 years backwards in some ways. And so it's about, I think, more how do we build those coping mechanisms and resilience where we don't have to feel that we're putting ourselves back in the closet, but we're able in an embodied way to really kind of nurture ourselves and our well-being in the immediate, and then be able to move through the systems that are now getting in our way in a bit more of a confident, mindful manner as well.
That's really interesting. So it's almost like how do you hold yourself without stopping expressing, but
Mm,
keeping it in a safe space?
mm. Yeah, definitely. Being safe in the world is really important. And I think there are times that we're now unfortunately in a place, and I'm not going to kind of be inauthentic about that, of we are going to have to choose how much we're going to be out in the world just to look after ourselves in a more mindful way. Um, I think that also prevents us getting vicarious trauma in the world if we look after our different parts in a more embodied, mindful way as well.
So you kind of have that relationality to the world where you're being grounded and realistic about your safety, but also taking agency within yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Okay.
very much thinking all the time with a lot of my clients. I work a lot with trauma, but I also work a lot with delayed grief sometimes within trauma. And some of that is about a sense of something you didn't have control over at some point in your life. And it's really important to really consider we do have control over some aspects, and it's kind of really giving them more vocal voice when we can in this environment, particularly.
Mm. So you're doing a workshop for us soon called Embodied Belonging in a Disrupted World. Could you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about how that will go and what people could expect and what you're offering?
So I'm very much some therapist that has a lot of compassion. So the initial work would be just around having a check-in space where people can just say, how they're feeling in this world. We might move some embodied work together. Um, Embodied work for some people can feel quite scary because it's coming back to the body, but going to do that in a really mindful, safe way. And obviously, because I'm trauma informed, that will be kind of my thought process throughout the workshop. So I know that I won't know each participant all that well, or what they're coming with, or their history is, but I certainly will be able to kind of think about mindful approaches, thinking about how they can have a sense of thriving in the world in that 1 hour that we've got together in an embodied way.
Brilliant. And so, just to finish, what would be something during these times? What would be some gift that if you could give to the queer community that you would offer that you'd like people to have or embody?
I think that somewhere in ourselves we can find a sense of safety when we definitely can't find it in the wider world around us. I think that's the most important bit, even if it's just finding a few minutes a day to find in an embodied way, to come back into your breath, come back into your body and find that sense of safety. I think that's the most important gift that we can give to ourselves and each other as well.